So in the last episode, I talked about finding your voice and how finding your voice can leave you vulnerable, and vulnerability can be our ultimate shield. But there's something more to be talked about when it comes to vulnerability. When we are vulnerable and we know about it, we are aware of it, there's a totally different feel to that than when we are vulnerable and we don't know that we are vulnerable. So what do I mean by that is, let's take an example of our current world situation. We are all vulnerable to some level, degree, and extent. What I mean by that is there's a level of fear, anxiety, worry, uncertainty, confusion, not knowing which way to go. So, and if we are not aware of what it is that we are experiencing and how to navigate through that, we become a target for manipulations, control, twisted truths, and betrayals. And we get all kinds of, even in the spiritual realm, you get all kinds of, spiritual healers or gurus telling you that they've got the answer. The truth is, humanity has never been here before. If it has, it wasn't in my lifetime. I don't know it. My knowledge of history is not good. So I'm just going by the years that I have lived on this planet. I think this is a very new experience for our world, for the humanity. None of us really have it figured out on how to navigate it, because the moment we figure it out for one day, things change the next day. We feel different the next day. We don't believe in the same old thing the next day. So we are really figuring this time out as we go along from day to day. So no one knows, no one has, and we're not even moving into times where where we had this, do these 5 things and you'll be free of the worry and the anxiety for the rest of your life. There's no such thing, because it's a daily practice. It's a daily practice of tuning into the mind and channeling the mind in positive different directions. It's a daily practice of finding things to be grateful for, and finding, what am I going to be doing today? And, the ability to anchor oneself on a daily basis. So none of us really know. We're just trying to figure it out. So vulnerability. So when we, so if we look around in the world, I'm going to try to formulate my thoughts around this. We are all vulnerable, like I said. But there are many, many of us, we don't know the extent of our vulnerability or the extent of the subconscious fear that we are experiencing. And we are a target for easy persuasion, for easy manipulation. Because there is fear. There's fear of death. There's fear of catching the virus. There's a fear of not knowing how it's going to affect us. And everywhere you turn around, our fear just gets magnified. Here's the thing, if you've been doing the inner work, you ever, know and have experienced that when you do the inner work, you think you have it all figured out. Then you get challenged with the biggest test. It's like, seriously? I've been through all of this. I've done all of that. I've learned all the learning. What is there more to be learned? And the bigger challenge comes upon you. So who's to say? Maybe all the other challenges prepared you for that big challenge. So similarly, when I look at the whole coronavirus condition, things are getting worse. The lockdowns are getting stricter. There's a lot of campaigning around getting the vaccines. And equally, there's a lot of information that is being revealed on the agenda and on the vaccines and all of that. So it just is continuously, this situation is keeping us on our toes. We really don't know from one day to the next. Whatever we knew the one day, second day, we rethink because nobody really knows, okay? Everybody's trying to do their best. So we are in a state of vulnerability, and it's important to know that. It's important to acknowledge the vulnerable state that we are in. It's important to be acutely aware of it, because that knowingness is what's going to be the shield. So when the information comes that is meant to persuade you in one way or the other, when somebody comes who is, putting guilt on you for going, for example, getting the vaccine, going one in one direction rather than the other. So, that's when you have to stand your ground. That's when you have to practice the sovereignty. That means each individual has the right to decide for themselves. And when we step away from the non-judgement, when we truly, truly embody our own sovereignty, we don't see the need to manipulate another person unless you're asked for information that you think that you have. So notice how beautifully that works. When each person decides for themselves, we really allow the others to decide for themselves, right? Sure, you may share the information, but then at the end of that, and even the information, it's nobody's information. I didn't write anything. I only know from reading something. You only know from reading something. We're not really in the know. We are trying to be in the know to see what really is going on, okay? So when we embody our sovereignty, when we believe we have the right to decide for ourselves and be responsible for the consequences, that's sovereignty. We really allow others to do the same and allow them to be okay with their decision. So when we are vulnerable and we don't know it, there's persuasion, there's a persuasion, and I call this manipulation, when you know somebody's in a weak position and there is an agenda behind the information you're sharing with them, very subtly trying to persuade them in one way or the other, okay? So that's what we have to pay attention to, is that we want to really, at the end of the day, step back and decide for ourselves, especially in this the world where there's the vaccine is the big thing that's going on right now. And we are yet left in another quandary, another question: should I get it? Should I not get it? Right? So, I've come to the conclusion that either way you're going to be okay. Trust that whatever decision you make, that you would have made the right decision. You have to trust your decision. And, body is much more forgiving, resilient, and there's such an intelligence in the body that if our intentions, there's integrity in our intentions, I think that will go a long way than worrying about every little detail of information and worrying about it. So vulnerability is an asset, but awareness of your own vulnerability is the biggest shield, because you know. So when you know each piece of information that you get, you are discerning. You step back and think. And how do you know if you are operating, with your full sovereignty, or are you being manipulated or persuaded? So I always, body is a great way to signal us. When we make a decision that's right for us, there's an expansiveness. There's a feeling of being balanced. There's an okay feeling. You feel okay. You feel at peace. When we make a decision that we truly did not want to make and we got manipulated into making it, the body gives you a signal. There's feelings that arise. You just don't feel yourself. You feel angry. Most importantly, you feel angry that you got manipulated. How could you have gotten manipulated even when you knew better? So check in with yourself at the core level of your being if there is fear. There's a fear in all of us, but is that the leading force? Or do you have a bigger amount of trust? In spite of the fear, do you trust? In spite of the fear and worry and anxiety, are you able to expand your heart and trust and move to a higher state of being in spite of the fear? Fear is going to be there because we live in this planet, polarized planet, where there's equal, if there, there's light and there's dark, there's fear and love. It's really understanding how to navigate both and staying in a place of the middle ground, we call it. We're continuously navigating through that space. So are you operating from fear or are you operating from love? That's the key. If you're operating from love, whether you get the vaccine or not, you're going to be okay. That's my belief. I don't know if that's your belief, but if you're operating from fear, whether you get the vaccine or not, things may not turn out okay. I don't know, because your state of mind, your mental state and how you feel and think about it is going to trigger things in the physical body. That's how it happens in my experience, and you can check it out for yourself. So really important to understand, where are you operating from? I use this point pivoting. What is your point? What is your pivotal point? Is it love or is it fear? Okay, so knowing that is highly, highly important. Again, it's about awareness. Are you aware of the state of your mind? Awareness doesn't mean we're always just all, in the clouds and loving and there's no worry in the world. Awareness is about noticing the amount of worry that you're carrying. Awareness is noticing the fear that erupts and you don't know what to do with. That's the awareness, okay? And so, when you talk about the vulnerability and what happens in relationships, what happens in relationships that are not on equal footing, relationships where there's like a distortion of power, so to speak, where, one person is more controlling and then the other person. We can call it a dysfunctional relationship, an abusive relationship, or a controlling relationship. There is vulnerability, but the person who's being violated is not understanding the extent of their vulnerability. Their weakness becomes the kind of the target for the other person to control and manipulate. So becoming aware is highly useful. And, we live in fear is on the rise. All over the world, all over the globe, fear is one thing that is spreading far, faster than the virus. Okay, and fear is real. We're not making it up. It's real fear. So be aware of the fact that no matter how we are living during this time, underlying, there is a certain amount of fear. I do have fear. I practice precaution when I'm out, getting groceries, or I pay attention to if there are crowds, because I want to protect myself. So there's a fear that all of us are having. But so know that there is fear there. So it's up to us how to transform that fear into love. So fear is energy. Lower vibration is fear, higher vibration is love. It's really the same energy, and transforming it into its highest expression, which is love. So, and when you are vulnerable, there is another way that when people are vulnerable, they get manipulated, is through guilt. It's like, won't you do this for humanity? What kind of a person are you that you won't do it for humanity? That statement makes me really confused. When it comes to wearing the mask, I totally understand. Sure, wear it for yourself and wear it for others. Understood, no problem. When it comes to having the vaccine, I'm confused on that. Because if you had the vaccine, that means you're protected. Maybe you still have to have use the precautions, but aren't you more protected because you have the vaccine? So how does another person getting the vaccine, whoever is getting the vaccine, they're protecting themselves, right? So yes, then they're no longer, there becomes less people with the virus that can be spread. So I'm just trying to think this through. It's not I don't have the answer. It's more a question. It's more a point of thought than anything else. So, and that's a guilt producing, that's a manipulative way of persuading somebody to do something that you want them to do. Whatever somebody wants to do is really not, it's a personal question these days. And so anytime when you are trying to use guilt or making the other person feel bad, or, you don't fit in because I have the vaccine, you don't have the vaccine. These are our manipulative measures from where I stand. So again, it depends on the intention of the person. So I think we're better off making the decision fully in our sovereignty, and really giving others to make that same decision for themselves, and trust that all of us are adults. All of us are, have access to the same information. We are free to read the information. We are free to listen. We are free to choose. And we are free to take calculated risks. And we're free to make a decision that feels right for us, that is resonating with us. Okay, so, it may seem like that, again, there's that, especially another word that comes to my mind, it's similar, things happen, I'm talking about like worldwide, global thing that's happening, but on a smaller scale, similar things happen in, say, a family, in the family dynamics, where there's guilt, then there is self-sacrifice, and then there's that martyrdom. It's like, so it's helping others at the expense of harming yourself. I don't think that's good for our world. It's helping others, but not helping yourself. So you have to be able to help yourself and make yourself a priority, because then you can allow others to do the same. Wouldn't it be better if everyone was free to decide for themselves and not have the fear of being judged or persuaded or manipulated? Wouldn't that be a better world? But we are still, compassionate and loving to other human beings, totally, truly loving, and not making underhanded comments, not having this intention of, oh, I'm going to get him to do this, or I'm going to get her to do this. That's, wouldn't that be a better world? Wouldn't that energy be better invested in becoming aware of who we are and shining our light and really connecting with the powerhouse of light that we are? Wouldn't that help each one of us more? Wouldn't that help the people around us more? Wouldn't that help the world a lot more? It's not what's going to save the world and humanity is really rising into the higher states of vibration, higher states of consciousness. And it's not about the vaccine. It's the intention. It's the point which we are pivoting from. And on the other hand, we don't want to not take the vaccine just to rebel. It's not about rebelling either. It's really about what resonates with you. Are you able to make a decision for yourself? Are you able to even ask for guidance from the trusted sources that are your trusted sources who can help you navigate what you're thinking when it comes to the vaccine? Okay, so these are my thoughts. And so it's vulnerability with the deep level of awareness that we are vulnerable. Ultimately, we are vulnerable. I mean, look at how vulnerable we are. No matter how much, how strong we get, what happens is invisible microorganism has the whole world scared, and we are vulnerable. And it's knowing that is what's going to give us the strength. We're not here forever. Knowing that is what allows us to live to the fullest. We have a very short time on this planet. Wouldn't it be better served, wouldn't it be better served shining your light around you, around others, so you can see clearly, others can see clearly, rather than using that same power to manipulate and sway others and have an agenda? Wouldn't that be a better world? I think so. So you decide for yourself. What else did I want to talk about in this episode? So, and I'm sure that, all of you can recall a time when you were manipulated. All of us have been manipulated at one point in our time or other. I know I have been. I've been called gullible, believing and trusting too quickly. I've done that. I'm more aware of it now than I have ever been. But we all have been. And there's nothing wrong with that either. When you become aware, it's just a learning point. You learn. We come here to learn. You learn. You learn the true meaning of being vulnerable. You learn, what trusting is all about. It's not about trusting, it's about trusting your own gut instincts. It's trusting yourself, trusting your innate wisdom and intuition, and holding true to that. So there's so much wrapped up when it comes to trusting ourselves, finding our voice, and embodying our sovereignty. And it's a process, and we continue to step into that more fully each time we have an encounter like that. So anytime when we are, manipulated, it doesn't feel right. I know it doesn't feel right from experience. It really, you become enraged that somebody had the audacity knowingly to do that to you, right? So that's another clue. That's like another clue when you have done something you didn't want to do, and you begin to feel that energy rising up. It just doesn't feel right. the energy that's, anger, energy like somebody just kind of pulled a fast one over me. It could be from the smallest thing to the biggest thing, because it's against our soul's integrity. That goes against what we are all about. We are, like I said, we are a powerhouse of pure consciousness, and connecting with it is a daily practice. And the more solid relationship we build with that deep sense of pure consciousness, we can embody that. We can embody that pure sense of consciousness, or our sovereignty, or the trust what we are and what we are here to do on, each passing day. Then there's no reason to manipulate others, unless somebody's asking you for information that you have. There's no reason to manipulate others. There's really no reason to do anything that has a hidden agenda. But so it all starts with one person at a time. When we are looking at the world systems that are being revealed right now, we all know there's agendas galore. That's one of the reasons why we are losing our confidence in the systems in the world, because their agendas, the what's hiding behind the veil, is being revealed, or we are beginning to question. When we are working from true integrity, there's no questioning. There's nothing to question. That's vulnerability. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. Whatever is in, that's what's out. And you never have to memorize what you said. What lie did you make up the first time around? So you know how that goes. And then the second time around, you're consistent with the lies. And that's why it becomes our ultimate shield, is when we are vulnerable, we know about it, what's in, it's what's out. You walk the higher ground, you live from the higher perspective, and you trust in the bigger picture. You trust that whatever decisions you make it from a place of love. You trust that whatever decision you make, it'll be for your highest good. You trust that whatever decisions are you to make, your higher self, your intuition will guide you there. And all you have to do is follow it. So with that, so that was my message for today. I hope it made sense. And that is it. So this is Meena Puri, by the way, host of Igniting Change, Finding Your Fire, a weekly podcast. Please like if you like, and share, comment if you like to do that. I'd love to hear from you. For more information on my work, go to ayurvedichealingcenter.com. And I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Thank you for watching.